All right, let's just jump right in. If you're learning Mandarin, I bet you've asked yourself this. Why do so many people start out super excited only to just give up? Well, what if I told you it has almost nothing to do with being good at languages and everything to do with the approach they're using? Today, we're going to break down exactly what separates the learners who actually make it from, well, everyone else. Just look at this number. Seriously, a staggering 95% of people who start learning Mandarin give up before they even get close to fluent. Most of them don't even make it past the beginner stage. That's just an insane failure rate for something so many people want to do. So the big question, the one you have to ask yourself, is this. Are you making the same mistakes that lead to that 95%? It's a tough one, for sure, but it's so important. Because if you are, you're probably on a path that ends in a whole lot of frustration, not fluency. So let's get into what's really going on here. In this first part, we're going to pull back the curtain on the real reason behind this massive failure rate. And I promise you, it's probably not what you think it is. Here's the most important thing to get. It's not you, it's your method. I mean, so many learners beat themselves up thinking they're just bad at languages or they're not smart enough. But the real problem? It's what I call the school mindset. Where we're taught to just follow the crowd, even when the crowd is heading straight off a cliff. And that brings us to this really crucial idea, the worker. The worker is your typical learner. They're the one who follows that conventional path. Textbooks, rote memorization, chasing test scores, all without ever stopping to ask, hey, is this stuff actually working? This slide just nails the difference between the two paths. You've got the worker on one side, following the crowd, basically fighting against how their own brain wants to learn. They end up studying about the language, like it's some kind of science project. But then you have the player. They rewrite the rules, they work with their brain, and they focus on one thing, acquiring a real-world practical skill. So what's actually in this worker's toolkit? Well, it's packed with stuff that feels super productive, Things like grinding through textbook chapters, racking up points on some app, or just memorizing endless lists of words. It totally feels like you're making progress, right? But the problem is it almost never translates into being able to hold a real, spontaneous conversation. Oh man, my first year, I was the ultimate worker. I was on Memrise for hours a day, got over 16 million points. I could see a word on the app and know it instantly. But then, when I tried to use those words with actual people, just blank stares. Or even worse, my friends would literally laugh in my face. It was brutal. And there's a name for this trap. It's called the illusion of competence. It's the engine that keeps the worker just spinning their wheels. You get all this positive feedback from your apps and books, but your actual ability to communicate, it's not going anywhere. It's a really, really efficient way to waste your time. Okay, but here's the good news. Now that we actually understand the problem, we can start talking about the solution. This right here is the turning point. This is where we stop thinking like a worker and we start thinking like a player. And here is the fundamental difference. A player doesn't try to brute force new characters into their brain with endless repetition. Nope. Instead, they leverage how the brain is actually wired to learn and remember stuff. They use principles from memory science and natural language acquisition, and you know what? It feels a lot less like work and way more like a game. The player's whole strategy is built on just a few core principles. Instead of just drilling characters, you use memory systems because our brains are built for stories and images, not for abstract squiggles on a page. Instead of memorizing word lists, you build associations because new info only sticks when it's connected to something you already know. Grammar isn't learned through boring rules. It's picked up naturally through context, and the whole thing is fueled by tons and tons of input that you can actually understand. All right, so now that we get the principles, let's see how they come together to form a practical, actionable system. We're going to toss out that worker's broken toolkit and replace it with a new one that actually gets results. So this is the core system, the real deal. Let's walk through it. Step 1, master the characters using memory palaces. This means turning a character into a crazy, vivid story that happens in a place you know really well, like your own house. This totally hacks your brain's powerful spatial memory, making abstract symbols concrete and unforgettable. Step 2 is all about words. You learn them with mnemonic association. You create these weird, funny mental images that connect a new word's sound and meaning to something you already know. That connection is the glue for long-term memory. Step 3, you review, but you do it the right way with spaced repetition flashcards. An app shows you a card right before you're about to forget it. It's the most efficient way to learn. But here's the absolute key. Your cards must have full sentences and native audio. That's how you acquire grammar and context intuitively. And finally, step 4, the one that ties it all together, immersion. You just consume tons of content, reading and listening, that is just a little bit above your current level. This comprehensible input is exactly how we all learned our first language, letting your brain just naturally soak up the patterns of Chinese. So after a year of totally failing as a worker, I switched to this player system, and within 2 years of studying part-time, I went from nearly quitting to passing the HSK6. That's the highest level exam. I could finally have real, natural conversations without that constant grinding in my head. It was a complete game changer. Now, that 4-step system is your foundation. It's your path to fluency. It's incredibly powerful. But for those of you who want to push even further, who want to refine your skills to a truly elite level, we can add a few specialized tools to the kit. First up is shadowing. This is where you speak along with native audio in real time. Think of it like singing along to your favorite song. The goal isn't just to repeat the words, but to perfectly mimic the rhythm, the tone, the whole flow of the language. It is, without a doubt, the best workout for your accent. Next, we've got sentence mining. This is how you turn passive immersion, like watching TV, into active learning. When you hear a new sentence in a show or read it in a book and think, hey, that's useful, you grab it, you snatch that whole sentence and turn it into a flashcard. This makes your vocabulary personal, contextual, and way, way more memorable. And finally, retrieval practice. Okay, this is a massive game changer for your speaking ability. It's simple. Just flip your flashcards around. Instead of seeing the Chinese and recognizing it, you see your native language and you have to actively produce the Chinese sentence out loud. It directly trains the exact skill of pulling words from your brain in the middle of a real conversation. So there you have it. The principles and the methods are all laid out. They're backed by science. They're proven by thousands of learners. The path to fluency, it's not some big mystery. The only real question left is the one you gotta ask yourself. Are you going to keep following the crowd as a worker? Or are you ready to rewrite the rules and become a player?